Okay, Billy. So you're feeling okay now? You've had a bit of a break?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right to continue on. Okay, what I thought we might do is I've given you a fair amount of information, and I'm just wondering whether you can just tell me in your own words what you think that you're about to embark on.
I guess it's a study, like I remember you mentioned things about like blinds and double blinds, like where I don't know like if I'm going to get the drug or the placebo. And I have to take 2 tablets, so once in the morning, once at night, and it's 12 weeks.
Yeah, that's correct.
And yeah, it's something to do with like an additive that's in the foods.
And what's it called?
Sodium something.
Benzoate?
Yeah, sodium benzoate, yeah.
That's right.
And it might help with people with psychosis.
Excellent.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. All right, so we'll move on through the form. So the blood sample. So this is completely optional. All right, because we do understand that people sometimes have issues with having blood tests. So it is completely optional. But what we're asking you to do is to have 2 blood tests. So that it's actually at baseline. So the first blood test will be at baseline. So at the beginning of the trial. So it'll be week 1, and then at the end, which will be week 12.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we'll be doing. So, and with that blood, we'll be taking about 1.5 tablespoons of blood. Okay, so that sort of gives you an idea. And I'm sure you've had a number of blood tests, since you've been in hospital. And,
yeah, I've had a couple. I'm not really a fan of like needles and stuff though. Okay. So I don't know if I feel comfortable, with that.
That's completely, you're right. And, and as I said, it's completely optional. And what I mean by that is that if you don't want to, take part in the blood samples, then that doesn't mean that you can't continue with the other parts of the clinical trial. Okay, so it's an optional section.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So it's not going to cost you anything to participate in this clinical trial. Everything that's associated with your transport, and well, I suppose that's it really. Transport, getting to the clinics, or if we're wanting you to be seen at another section of the hospital, then we will be providing all the costs will be completely covered. Okay, so it will be no additional cost to you. But in saying that, to compensate you for your time and any inconvenience you will receive, a total of $120 worth of Coles and My gift vouchers, okay, so that you can use. That will be, divvied up throughout the 12 weeks, all right? So you'll be, getting, $40, sort of halfway through, and then, another $40, at week 8, and then another $40 at the end of the trial. Okay, so you'll be compensated, throughout the trial, for any inconvenience.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So talking about if you decide that you want to take part in the blood sample, so even though you've said to me that you're not keen on it now, I'll just go through this section and you can have a think about it, and then you can certainly get back to me if you feel that you might change your mind, or that you're definitely against it.
Okay, well, I mean, with the blood test, so that won't affect the Coles Myers vouchers
No,
either?
No, not at all. So you'll continue through the 12 weeks. You won't have that beginning blood test or the end blood test, but you'll certainly get, the compensation throughout the trial, okay, regardless of the blood samples. So the blood sample that you donate will be sent to the Queensland Brain Institute, and that's a laboratory that's at the University of Queensland, and they will be stored there, okay? And part of that, or part of what will be taken from that blood sample, is DNA and RNA, proteins and sera. So they're biological materials that, are part of your blood, okay, or what makes up your blood.
Yeah, it's just...
Okay, yeah. All right. So I know that lots of people get quite worried about, when we start talking about DNA, okay, but it's the makeup of your blood, okay, and so DNA is really important for research, and it's not, you know, we won't be sending it anywhere. So your blood samples will in actual fact stay at the Queensland Brain Institute at the University of Queensland, and only the direct researchers that are involved in this process will have access to those blood samples. If for any reason that you give, you know, consent into the future to have those blood samples used in other research, they have to be ethically approved and, you know, so submitted to an ethical board. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we don't want you to think that those samples are just going to be, you know, used by anybody. Okay. They have to be. It has to be approved, and you have to give consent.
Yeah, DNA and all that stuff. It's
Over your head. Okay,
yeah,
so you don't
a little bit.
understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you understand that they're biological material, so it makes up your blood. Okay. So it's
yeah.
part of your blood. All right, and it's part of what makes you who you are. Okay, so it identifies who you are. So that's what DNA really is. Okay.
Oh, I mean, like I've heard of DNA, but all the other stuff, like RNA and all that.
RNA. So it's other components. So DNA and RNA sit together. Okay, so they're alongside of each other.
Okay.
And they're molecules, so they're compounds, and they make up your blood. All right. So, and we into the future will, you know, want to research, you know, those blood samples, and, you know, gives us an idea of, you know, other treatments that we may be able to use into the future for people who suffer from psychosis. Okay.
Okay, I mean, I guess
confusing.
A little bit. I mean, it's more just like I always get worried, you know, with taking DNA and stuff. You see all those movies, you know, about like DNA being used, like I know it seems silly, but you know, like cloning and stuff. And
absolutely. So we won't be doing anything like that at all. So your DNA, your blood samples as such, is confidential. It will only be, it will be stored at the University of Queensland at our lab, and it will be stored under a confidential code. Okay, so nobody will be able to identify that that's who it is, so that's you. So you'll have a code attached to your sample, and the master copy with your details will be completely separate. It will be stored separately, you know, to that information. Okay, so that information will be stored where I work at, you know, Queensland Centre for Mental Health Research, but your actual blood sample will be kept at the University of Queensland. Okay, so they're completely separate, and what you would be consenting to is to have that stored at the University of Queensland, but it would not be, you would not be consenting for that sample to be given to anybody else. Okay, so that sample would stay at the University of Queensland, and from there you would have to give us consent to use that sample in other ethically approved studies. All right?
Okay.
I know it's a lot of information, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you can certainly, as I said, take this away and have a read of it. And if you know, because it is a long process, but are you happy to continue on?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it really applies to me because, you know, I don't really, you know, feel comfortable about giving blood tests anyway.
That's no problems at all.